Welcome to the cave. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.
Exciting times, my friend. Just right before we got on the air, I read online that that '90s show #1 on Netflix.
Yeah, it's really exciting.
So as I mentioned, that '90s show, we see you as Ozzie, which premiered a few days ago. And the reviews have been great. People are liking it. I watched a few episodes. I'm a fan of the original, so I tended to watch this one also. Who doesn't love the '90s, right?
Yeah, who doesn't love the 90s?
So we're gonna jump into the show in a few minutes, but I was doing some research on you. I want to get to know a little bit more about you. I saw that you started acting at the age of 9. What made you get into the industry? What pushed you?
Well, when I was like really young, like preschool times, I would always like be the MC for my like school's performances. And so after the performances would finish, some of the parents would come up to me and like compliment me for like how good I was able to like speak in front of people at such a young age. And I didn't really think of like I never had like a goal of going to Hollywood, but it kind of happened naturally.
Mm.
So yeah.
So like while you were doing that, was there like some favorite like TV shows, movies, actors, actresses that kind of you followed their dream and you're like, you know what, I want to do this?
I think that I watched Bridesmaids at a really young age. And obviously I wasn't really listening to the inappropriate scenes, but I did watch the movie and it's really funny and even now like I'll watch it because it's just one of my favorite movies ever. But then also being able to work with Kristen Wiig from Bridesmaids on
Mm.
a film Barb and Star. It was kind of like the person that I saw on screen when I was 4, I finally met when I was like 11.
Wow. How did that make you feel when you met her?
I was like really like shocked. I was like, well, first of all, that day we were filming on the ocean. We were filming in Cancun, and so she was filming a scene just coming out of the water, and I didn't even recognize her because I was in the hair and makeup room and I was
Mm.
getting ready to film my scene for the day. And this lady walks in, and of course I'm just like, oh my God, she looks like really tired and she's wet and sandy, and she had like in the scene that she was filming, I guess she had like mosquito bites all over her.
Mm.
So I was like, huh, who is that? And then I, my mom came up to me and said, "That's Kristen." I'm like, "No, it's not." And then it was.
That's awesome. So you've done TV, you've done a little bit of film, you have a #1 show on Netflix. What's your goal, Brandon? What do you want to tackle next?
Well, I mean, a lot of goals, but one of them would probably, of course, being hopefully the show will continue and be successful. But also, I really do want to work on other projects like more films because I really enjoyed filming Barb and Star. It was just such a fun experience, and I feel like a horror film. I would love to. I do a lot of comedy, and so I would definitely love to explore other genres as well.
What's your ultimate like a goal for like a role? Is there like a certain role that you kind of hope you get your hands on? I know you mentioned horror, but is there like superhero, anything else in your on your list?
Um, I don't I don't know. I mean, I feel like it would be fun doing like a dramatic role,
Okay.
like where it's like a lot of like drama and like seriousness. But also I feel like the reason I like horror so much is because the audience is like on the edge of their seats. And so
Mm.
I kind of like to see the audience react. That's why I like comedy so much because I get to see the audience so like happy and laugh.
Mm.
So it makes it that brings me joy.
Are you a big horror fan? Do you have a favorite horror movie?
To be honest, I do like horror, but then I get really scared. I'm really, really like afraid. But then I end up watching because my mom likes watching it. So I'll just like tag along and she's like, okay, I wanna watch a horror movie for my birthday or for Mother's Day. I'm like, well, it's your birthday, so I guess we'll watch a horror movie. But then I'm scared at first, but then I end up really enjoying it.
Right. That's awesome. So yeah, let's talk about the '90s show. Like I said, I mentioned earlier, it premiered earlier on Netflix. What do you think makes this show so special and working on it?
Well, I think just the amount of support that we've gotten. Obviously, we already have a fan base from the original show
Mm.
that are really supportive, and I know that you know this was a big risk because that '70s show was so popular and such an iconic show. So I know that the fans were skeptical at first, but I read tons of comments that said they're super like shocked at how much they love the show and how much the new kids or the new generation of Point Places really resembles the old cast.
Right.
But I think obviously like the support from the original cast, because without their support, we wouldn't have been able to do this show. They came like I would say, I mean, Deborah Joe, who plays Kitty, was talking to us and saying like every week is kind of like a mini reunion because someone would come back.
Right, right. So we see you as Ozzy. I want to hear about your auditions. You remember your audition?
Yeah, so I auditioned and then casting wanted to meet with me. Actually at the audition, my managers called me and said, are you comfortable playing a gay role? And I was like, of course. I mean, it's a character. It's just me portraying a character. So I was
Mm.
like, of course, no worries at all. And I was like, really, really, I was hoping that I would get the role. But the audition process took longer than I thought. But then I had to go to Atlanta to film a separate Netflix film at the
Mm.
time. So I didn't even know, but the producers wanted to meet with me and wanted me to read the role again with them, but I was in the hotel, so I was like scrambling, like, oh, what do I do? What do I do? So I became creative and I did the audition in the bathroom, and and I used an ice bucket to kind of like level my face with the camera. And then the callback went well. I did a chemistry read with Ashley, who plays Gwen on the show. And then I got the call, like, I think a month after I did the audition, I got the call saying, hey, you got the role.
Wow. Were you given a description of Ozzy before auditioning for the role, or did you get a bigger description after you got it?
In terms of like how Ozzy fits in with the group, yes, when I got the audition, the character description said, he's very open and he feels comfortable around his friends,
Yeah.
and he's like the Yoda of the group. He's like the most knowledgeable. But then I feel like personality wise, that sort of was developed and revealed as we filmed more episodes.
Mhm.
Um, and yeah.
How did you prepare now to play this role? How did you tackle it after you got the description and everything? Like, what did you look for to play him?
Well, when I first did the audition, I kind of like pushed it a little bit because
Okay.
it was comedy. But I did learn that the casting wanted me to do the role or do the script as more like subtle or not as pushed. And then so I did work with my coach on that, and then we kind of figured out a way to like match everything, and it's not necessary to always push, and so I just became kind of more natural as Ozzy.
Mm.
But being gay in the 90s, as Ozzy being gay, it's kind of like he wasn't as he would be open to some people, but he didn't feel completely comfortable being that way to everyone.
Mm.
Like, so I feel like, I did when I get the script for the next episode, I always think in my head, okay, we're not in the 2020s, it's different. So I think that instead of thinking that, oh, Ozzy's gay, I started to think, okay, he's sweet, but he's also rude, he's honest, he's judgmental. So I thought about his personality characteristics.
Mm. What kind of research did you do for like play a character in the 90s?
Character. Okay, well, the only research I really did was that I bought like 4 seasons of that 70s show, because I probably should have watched that 70s show before I got the role, but I didn't. And I still ended up getting the role. So it's all good. But I watched the show and I was just like really like amazed by how funny all of them were and how they
Mm.
have such good chemistry as a group and as a cast. Um, so that's the research I did, and then obviously when I started to film more on the show, you point out and you realize all the different aspects that are being brought back.
What's been your favorite 90s moment you think that you've seen on set?
I don't. Well, obviously everyone loves the fashion. Um, so I would enjoy going to fittings and seeing the stuff that Ozzy would wear in this episode, and because Ozzy's kind of like the fashionista of the group in a way.
Right.
He has like really good style. So I did enjoy that, but also raves. I never knew what raves were. Like in the beginning, I was like, rave. But then, I mean, in the show, Ozzy ends up not being able to go because he gets left at home from his friends. So if we have another opportunity to get another season and film another rave episode, I would love to be able to participate next time.
Hmm. What do you think has been like the biggest like challenge playing this character?
I would say it was hard for me to like find how I wanted to portray Ozzy in the beginning. And
Hmm.
I think over time, talking with the director, our amazing and lovely director Gail, or our showrunner Greg, just talking to them about my character, I think helped me discover how I wanted to portray
Hmm.
him. But also, Ozzy doesn't really, well, not yet. Ozzy doesn't really have a family background in the show as of now. So I think if he had a family background, it might have been a little easier to play. But I kind of had to like, put my own spin on it.
Right. What do you love about Ozzy?
I love Ozzy. I know that he'll be very critical. I mean, I tend to think that it's like my alter ego. Like I'm not as upfront and straightforward. Like I have a tendency to not be honest with people, um, compared to him. So when I play him, I'm like, oh, this is what it would be like if I was this honest. And so
Hmm.
it kind of like maybe one day I'll change.
Well, if we see a season two, what kind of character growth would you like to see happen to Ozzy?
I would like to see him find that person in the group that he can really connect with. I know in the show, technically, Gwen is his best friend,
Hmm.
and they met in detention and all that. But I feel like within the three boys, the other two boys are like close, and then Ozzy's not as close with the boys, but he's
Yeah.
kind of like I feel like we're unsure of who his like best bud is right now.
Hmm.
So I do hope to see that, and obviously, I want to see who his parents are.
Right. I was told to tell you kudos on your French.
Oh, thank you.
Did you find that easy, difficult?
At first, I was like, am I gonna be able to do this? Like, I speak zero French. I know, like, when I was going to school, like in elementary school, there was like French classes that I was taking, but to be honest, I wasn't really paying attention 95% of the class. So I kind of forgot everything I learned.
Hmm.
But it was not that hard because French is kind of similar to English, I would say. It's just like a lot of the words are like silent or like it's very hard to pronounce. But luckily I had a recording that was sent to me, and so that helped a lot. But I got the script. I was in San Francisco and I was on the boat going to Alcatraz, and we were coming back, and I got the script and I'm reading through it and I'm like, oh God, I have to speak French. Oh no.
So we mentioned, the 70s show spinoff reboot to that 90s show. We see part of the original cast come in throughout the season. What was the like, advice they gave you when you guys first started filming this? What's like, because that was a huge show for them, that to make their career even bigger in the future. What kind of advice did they give you guys?
Well, they were all so kind. But my dressing room was next to Wilmer's.
Okay.
So I was able to really, I mean, he's so friendly and he's so nice to all the kids, but especially being next to him, room wise, it was easier to kind of talk. So I know the first episode that he appeared in our show, after the table read, which is always on Zoom, I kind of
Mhm.
peeked out of my room into the hallway and I was like, I was kind of waiting for Wilmer to come out so I could talk to him. And I was like, okay, you got this, you got this, you got this. And then Wilmer came out. I was like, hi, Wilmer. And then we kind of talked. And, he gave me one really good piece of advice, which is since we are a multi-cam sitcom and we have a schedule like one where we do table read, rehearsal, run through, pre-shoot, live show. It's very hectic. But also because of that, you have one chance to show it to the producers, to the
Mm.
network. So he said, always take an advantage, always take the rehearsal opportunity to really go into your creative mind or your creative world or how you want to change this line, or you can experiment all kinds
Mm.
of things since you have the time. So that was like towards the beginning of the season. So we were all like still getting used to filming in front of the live audience and rehearsing for hours. So I think that advice really helped me. And I think it did help me become more out of the box.
That's awesome. And then again, the 70s cast also, they became like close friends outside of the show also. Like now, how would you describe the chemistry with the new cast and you guys working together? How did you become like pretty much like a tight friendship going on set?
Right. Well, I think that we are we're very close. I'm the youngest of the group, but I do feel like, it's like I know not every project you're going to work on, you're going to be with good people. But I feel like the show has a ton of great people.
Yeah.
And I feel like having that good work environment where it's, we're not competitive with each other. We tend to always uplift each other when something happy happens or when something good happens or one of the kids gets a nice part in the episode. Like, we're not mad or we're not unhappy. We're happy for each other. So I think that helps. I feel like we just all really get along. And plus, since four of them live here and then two of them live out of state. So most of the cast being here helps too because when we're not filming, we get to see each other as well. Like right now, we're not filming, and I know that some of them are meeting up. So it's nice to be able to have that sort of close
Yeah.
bond on and off.
Mhm. I don't want to give out too many spoilers and everything, but you had one scene that I want you to tell us a little bit about it. It's between Ozzie and Kitty in that one scene that everybody's talking about. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So when I received the script, I was like, oh, this is Ozzie's big episode. Like this is like sort of like Ozzie's moment. Um, so I was really happy that he could express his feelings and, you know, tell someone. And for that someone to be Kitty was even more special for Ozzy and for me playing him because I mean, who wouldn't want to do a scene with Deborah Jo Rupp?
Right.
She's iconic. But she was so nice that whole week, and I know that I think I was like nervous and stressed out because literally like 99% of my scenes were live that day, so it was very hectic. But I mean, I got through it, and it was so fun. Um, actually, the scene, not the scene where Ozzy comes out, but the scene before that where he's helping Kitty with the computer and almost tries to reveal what he wants to say, and
Yeah.
Laura Donna walks in and she called me like a sex boy and she did her like hand motion like that just made me laugh so much and it made everyone laugh. Deborah Jo was kind of blaming me for most of the time for laughing, but I know she was laughing too.
That's
Um,
right.
yeah.
What do you think's been your favorite moment so far in the series?
Um, for sure, like all the special returns that we've had from the original cast.
Mm,
But I think for Ozzy, it would probably have to, I mean, Ozzy has like a lot of great moments. Like a sweet moment would be his coming out scene to Kitty. Like that's a
mm,
sweet moment of Ozzy where you see his sweet side. But Ozzy's like real comedic timing and all that, like his comedy scenes, I would say the interrogation scene that he has with Red and
okay.
Kitty after the whole incident with the rave, like that's really funny. I had a lot of fun filming that because it was like with Red and Kitty, Kurtwood and Deborah, like, oh my God, that's just a dream.
Mm.
But yeah, I mean, Ozzy had a lot of good moments, but I'm always looking to see what the fans think and what their favorite moment is too.
Uh, Speaking of the fans, what are you hoping for when the original 70s fans and the new fans tune into now to watch this? What are you hoping they get out of this?
I hope that they just see that chemistry that I feel that we have, and I hope that they, you know, I hope the '90s, the people who grew up in the '90s, who are now adults, I hope they were like, oh wait, I was doing that in the '90s. I wore that in the '90s. I was at the mall in the '90s. I did glamour shots in the '90s. All that kind of stuff, the nostalgia that we've brought back. I hope that they can relate to, because I can, because I wasn't around.
That's awesome. Ren, now what's next for you now? Any other projects you're allowed to tell us about that you got coming out or you're gonna work on?
Yeah, so the Netflix film I was filming in Atlanta should be coming out sometime this year, hopefully soon. It's called The Outlaws and it'll be on Netflix.
That's awesome. Ren, how can the viewers and listeners now find you on social media to keep up with you and hopefully for a season 2 of the 90s show?
Yeah, all my social media accounts are Reyn Doi, REYNDOI.
That's great. Ren, I want to thank you for giving me a few minutes out of this. Was great.
Thank you so much for having me.